It is 6 p.m. here in Cairo. Time for the news bulletin, and we will be starting straight away with the main headlines. Welcome back. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and the Egyptian expatriates, Badr Abdulati, participated in the 4th Antalya Diplomacy Forum. On the sidelines of the Diplomacy Forum, Abdulati participated in the Arab Islamic Ministerial Committee meeting on Gaza, where he affirmed the Egyptian complete rejection to any attempt to the demographic structure of the Gaza Strip through the proposals of the displacement of the Palestinians. The foreign minister added that such actions are considered a flagrant violation of the international humanitarian law, undermine the peace efforts, and threaten regional peace and security. Following the meeting of the Arab Islamic Ministerial Committee, Abdulati confirmed that the Egyptian-Qatari efforts are seeking to reach an agreement that guarantees the release of the group of Israeli detainees in exchange of a number of Palestinian prisoners. Abdulati highlighted the efforts aimed at immediately applying the ceasefire agreement that went into effect on January the 19th. Abdulati also stressed that the ceasefire agreement in Gaza will pave the way for holding the Cairo Conference for Reconstruction and implementing the early recovery plan approved by the recent Arab Summit in Cairo. He underscored the necessity of empowering the Palestinian Authority and spotlighted the role of Egypt and Jordan in training the Palestinian police elements to be deployed in the enclave. The foreign minister also highlighted the need to work to create the favorable conditions for the Palestinians to remain on the lands by consolidating the ceasefire, stopping the war of starvation, and providing basic services to the people of the Gaza Strip. And for his part, Palestinian Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mohammed Mustafa, stressed that the Palestinian Authority's priority is to quickly cease fire in Gaza and launch a serious political process leading to the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. He also stressed that his government is cooperating with Egypt to prepare for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, referring to the international conference that Cairo will organize on this matter with broad international participation. He also confirmed that his government is working to prepare the ground for the successful reintegration of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank into a unified Palestinian entity under the leadership of the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Palestinian Authority. In addition, the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan confirmed that the meeting of the Arab Islamic Committee on Gaza discussed the plans to implement the ceasefire as well as the steps that must be taken to work toward a two-state solution and establish sustainable peace in the region. Fidan reiterated Ankara's rejection of the displacement of the Palestinians from the lands, calling on the occupation authorities to cease fire in the Gaza Strip and start negotiations to implement a truce. On the sidelines of the three-day forum, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Expatriates Badr Abdulati held a meeting with the Palestinian counterpart, Mohammed Mustafa. The meeting tackled the Egyptian efforts to consolidate the ceasefire agreement and the ongoing negotiations to begin the second phase of the agreement, as well as the moves to support the Arab Islamic plan to rebuild the Gaza Strip and the preparations related to the Reconstruction Conference of Gaza hosted by Egypt in cooperation with the Palestinian government and the United Nations. The meeting also discussed the latest developments in the West Bank in line with the repeated military incursions in cities and camps in the West Bank. Foreign Minister Abdulati reiterated the Egyptian rejection of the displacement of the Palestinians from their lands. He stressed the necessity to work to create the needed political horizons for the establishment of the Palestinian independent state on the borders of 1967 with Al-Quds as its capital. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and the Egyptian expatriates, Bethha expressed his aspiration to promote the cooperation with Kuwait to achieve the common interests of the two brotherly peoples. This came during a meeting with the Kuwaiti counterpart, Abdullah Al Yahya, on the sidelines of the participation in the Antalya Diplomatic Forum on Turkey. Both ministers exchanged views on the latest developments in the Gaza Strip and ways to enhance and mobilize the international support for the Arab Islamic Plan for early recovery and the reconstruction of Gaza, in addition to the coordination between the two sides to prepare for the Cairo International Conference for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and the Egyptian expatriates, Bethha affirmed the Egyptian efforts to support the Libyan solution without dictation, foreign interference, or violation of the role of the Libyan national institutions. This came during Abdullah's meeting with the Tunisian counterpart Mohammed Ali Al-Nafti and the UN envoy to Libya Hannah Tete. Foreign Minister Abdullah stressed the priority that the Libyan file represents for the Egyptian national security and the Egyptian interests as a direct neighbor for Libya. He also assured the Egyptian support for the international efforts to launch a political process. For his part, Secretary General of the League of the Arab States, Ahmed Abul Ghait, stressed the absolute priority of a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. In his remarks before the ministerial meeting of the Arab Islamic Contact Group on Gaza held in Antalya, Turkey, Abul Ghait warned against the dangers of the unprecedented humanitarian situation that aims at pushing the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip. Gaza rescuers said a pre-dawn Israeli occupation forces airstrike killed 10 members of the same family. As the UN said, dozens of recent attacks on the Palestinian territory had killed only women and children. The Israeli occupation said it was looking into the attack that killed the members of the same family in Khan Yunis, adding separately that it had struck approximately 40 targets across the territory over the past day. Early on Friday, the Israeli occupation issued an evacuation warning to the residents of several areas east of the Gaza City ahead of the new offensive. The Health Ministry Gaza said that 1,522 people. The United Nations said its analysis of 36 recent Israeli occupation forces strikes in Gaza showed only women and children were killed and decried the human cost of the war. The UN Rights Office also warned that expanding the Israeli evacuation orders were resulting in the forcible transfer of people into ever-shrinking spaces in the Palestinian territory. UN spokeswoman warned the Israeli occupation strikes across Gaza were leaving nowhere safe. The Israeli occupation forces Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated his pledge to bring back the hostages still held in Gaza in a message marking the Jewish Passover holiday. His comments came after the U.S. President Donald Trump suggested progress in hostage release talks, telling a cabinet meeting overnight that they are getting close to getting them back. Netanyahu's office said that he also met with the families of the hostages, during which he said Israel was working towards returning the hostages and updated them on the negotiations. 12 protesters were charged with felony vandalism for their actions during a June 2024 pro-Palestinian protest at Stanford University, in which the demonstrators barricaded themselves inside the office of the school president. U.S. prosecutors claim that those charged entered the building and demonstrated a conspiracy to occupy, adding that at least one suspect entered the building by breaking a window. He added that all the suspects wore masks. Iran said that it was giving high-level nuclear talks with the United States on Saturday a genuine chance. U.S. President Donald Trump made a surprise announcement last week that Washington and Tehran would begin talks in Oman. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said that the U.S. should value the Republic's decision to engage in talks despite the threats of Washington. And the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the Russian President Vladimir Putin will hold talks with Ukraine with U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff, who is on a visit to Russia. This came as the Russian strikes killed at least 2 people in Ukraine and wounded over 2 dozens, as Moscow claimed to have captured another village in the northwestern Sumy region. Ukrainian officials said a Russian drone strike on a residential building in the city of Zhytomyr killed 1 person, while a Russian missile attack on the central city of Dnipro killed another. The Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources announced an increase in the prices of fuel products by £2 per litre as of today. The Egyptian Fuel Automatic Pricing Committee decided to increase the prices to become £15.75 for 80-octane gasoline, £17.25 for 92-octane gasoline, and £19 for the 95-octane gasoline. The committee added that the price of diesel is £15.50. The committee also said that the price of the industrial use mazot increased to £10,500 per tonne. Minister of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation Ronyel Moshot and the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade Affairs Peter Csiarto signed the protocol of the 5th round of the Egyptian-Hungarian Joint Committee to enhance the cooperation in 26 developmental fields. The signing ceremony came as both top officials co-chaired the meetings of the Joint Committee for the Scientific and Economic Cooperation with the attendance of Deputy Prime Minister for the Industrial Development, Minister of Industry and Transportation Kamil El-Wazir. The meetings witnessed an expanded talk that focused on the bilateral cooperation aspects. And this brings us to the end of the news bulletin for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye.